I agree. And there's a reason why this is the last episode in the series because it's we don't we want to be able to explain everything, but if it was up to us, we try to explain everything at a high level, especially in the beginning. And you can understand, the best practices, but there will always be a preference towards staying on google.com. I think that is worth the money. I don't care if it's 10% less of the click. I'm looking for intent. So if you're looking for intent, remember when you stray away from just google.com, it just begins to, like Ryan says, becomes a lot of irrelevancy. And, maybe you are just, I believe, not maybe, you are better off running a performance mass campaign as your remarketing than just a standalone display. How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to the PPC Cave with your co-hosts Gene Villeneuve and Ryan Fenton. Today, you'll be joining us with this particular episode, continuing on the series of what campaign types should I run. Today, we're going to talk about Google Ads and all the other campaign types that we did not mention in 2024. And this is the 14th episode that we have, and we're really just close to wrapping up our series. The next episode that you will hear from me and Ryan will be the recap episode. And again, we continue on with this series with more of our high level, more so like the highlights and features of all the different Google Ads campaigns, and more of broad strokes, best practices, and how that's relevant in our day and age right now in 2024. Do you want to say hi to our 47 subscribers on YouTube, Ryan?
Hello to all the 47 subscribers. Thank you for following us. No, honestly, it's amazing. We just started this because we love Google Ads, and we both feel like we are somewhat competent, I would say, about what we do and have some knowledge about what we do. But I think it's more a case of we love what we do. A lot of people are in this game because it's a job, and but for you and me, I think we actively research about new campaign types and different strategies and stay on top of like what's new and trending in terms of the industry, for Google Ads. So, we do all this because we enjoy it, and that's why we started this channel in the first place, is because we both felt we were coming from a place of we know what we're talking about. And if you're subscribed to us, if you're following us, then thank you so much. It seems like you are on board with us in terms of listening to what we waffle on about, I guess. But yeah, hello to all the 47 subscribers. I can't wait to hit 50. What about you?
Yeah, 50, that round number. I can't wait to hit 5,000. Oh no, 500. Sorry, that's what we were discussing earlier.
5,000.
5,000 is good too, but 500,
Wow.
when we hit 500 subscribers, we will do one Google Ads account audit where me and Ryan will get on your particular account, blur everything as a screen capture, and get two valuable Google Ads managers perspective, not just one, two, and we'll do a deep dive on your current Google Ads account and how you can optimize. Yeah,
How are we gonna do that? Are we gonna like do a random online generator thing, and whoever out of our subscribers, and we do it that
yeah,
way, or the 5,000 or 500 or 5,000?
500. We'll go 500
The
first.
fit. Yeah. So
Yeah,
would it be number 500 who we do the audit on, or how would we do it?
I would be keen on maybe the episode that we hit 500. That particular episode obviously is not going to be like the fifth hundred episode, but we could be like, hey, comment in the
Mm.
particular YouTube video and just say Ryan should audit me, and we'll do a randomizer. And hopefully it's a lot of comments because without comments, our engagement is down. I don't know how would we get to 500 if we don't have a lot of comments at that point. And we'll pick, you know.
Sounds good
Um
to me.
yeah,
Cool.
sounds good to me. And so speaking of optimization, we've kind of left this last episode to speak on the campaign types that were obviously left out. We do have experience in these, but not as extensive as the big three. I would say search, shopping, and PMax. And the first one is apps and games. So for apps and games, you have to understand that this is you floating into basically the display network again. So more so brand awareness, and it's really, really important for sure to understand where your apps and games ads will show up. Understanding that it's eligible to appear through the Google Ads properties. This it can include search on Google, Google Play, YouTube, anywhere in the display network. So understanding where it's going to show up is first and foremost, and making sure that whatever copy or ad or photo or video we have is definitely relevant to where it's going to show up and appear. And really understanding your goal, right, is make sure you're distinguishing the campaign subtype. This is pretty standard. If we're answering the question, which Google Ads campaigns should I run? If you have apps and if you have games and you sell that on mobile, you should probably run this particular campaign. It's pretty cut and dry. But understanding your different campaign subtypes like installs, which is probably going to be the majority of people out there, is focusing on how many people, users, relevant users, searchers can install the particular app or game. Or maybe you're looking for app engagement, and remember, you need about 250,000 installs to run this. App engagement, like maybe a sign up from regular basic free to premium, making sure that you understand what type of engagement you want inside the particular app after it's been installed is important. And that's kind of like the next level. Again, you have to have 250K installs to run this. And then, pre-registration, which I think is a newer thing, and it's only for Android. And understand that, Android and iOS, if you're up to date, again, this is in 2024, there's a lot of things going on with iOS 14 and privacy policies. And even Google themselves say that there will be limitations if you are doing particularly app installs and game installs on Google Ads, especially for the iOS or Apple or iPhone. So understand that results may vary, especially in this day and age. With Apple, there could be a little bit of a dip in performance level there. And I know there's even more features that if you are just only wanting to show up on Android, Android has a little bit more features like target ROAS. So you're really kind of just doing a huge brand awareness campaign if you're unfortunately doing this for Apple or iPhone. Make sure that your conversion tracking is important. I know that's a bit of a theme that we always go through. I mean, it's important, right? At this day and age, there's no reason for you to not be able to set that up, but understanding the conversion tracking and what you want. Right? I said the majority of people doing this is probably going to want to focus on installs and install volume. Then the next level, when you're really scaling, you have the volume of installs already, is how do we get those in-app or in-game actions? And we all know, we probably played Clash of Clans back in the day, or whatever game you've had. You could get really addicted to those little installs in the game. You want a little bit more lives, you want a new skin. So that's really profitable in a way for you to really gain revenue as an app beyond just installing it. But yeah, that's basically wrapping up apps and games. Ryan, do you have anything to add to that?
Not at all. I've got something to admit. I've never ran an app campaign before. So yeah, if you guys are watching and you want like an app campaign running, don't come to me, go to Gene. I'll just kind of bow out of that one straight away, because I have no idea. So I'm learning from you right now, which is great.
Thanks, man. Yeah, and I've had very far and few between also. But if you are, in Silicon Valley and have an app or have a game, GeneVillanos.com. I am on Gene Villanos on TikTok now. I should stop. We actually got a comment the other day that said self-promotion or self-promotion much. on our YouTube video. And this was like our first or second one where we were trying to establish credibility. So I don't want to self promote myself, but genevillanos.com. Anyway, moving on to the
Wow.
yeah, it is pretty selfless of me or selfish of me, but hey, we're just here to help. And if this is why we do this, is because we want to show credibility and be able to help and collaborate. So next is display. Again, understanding where these show on the display network, such as Google networks, the usual suspects, Google Finance, Gmail, Blogger. The big one is YouTube. I think the biggest thing to understand that kind of relates to our last episode regarding YouTube and video ads is the intent is definitely decreased when you're moving into the display campaigns, display networks. You're moving off of google.com and maybe into youtube.com, whereas google.com is more of actual in high intent, I am looking for something journey, as opposed to more of an interrupted doing something, multitasking, and I see this show up in the display network type of ad. So really understanding what you're up against when you're moving towards more so remarketing and brand awareness is really important. But that's not to neglect the fact that there's a lot of potential and being optimistic with just how cheap moving on to the display network is. I think I read a quote that it's almost 10% less, or it's almost 10. So say you're auctioning $1 for a particular click. I think closer to the display network is maybe more of 10 cents to that dollar. So it's really less, which you see even on search. Exact match is going to be more expensive than broad match, but you have to understand the nature of that and how to utilize it. So I believe that the display network, if you're looking into running just a display network campaign, we're not talking about going on shopping or search, creating it and checking display network. We're talking about going to create and display, understanding what type of, for me, I only work with e-commerce stores, but what type of store or website works well with that. In my opinion, are websites that have higher education, like if it's a very technological product. I have a client that sells EV chargers. So a lot of understanding and knowledge comes to the education of that particular buyer in their purchasing journey. It's not, oh, I see an ad, I click an ad, I purchase. There's a little bit of education. So if there's education, then that means there's room for remarketing and following that person around to stay top of mind. Other websites that aren't transactional, this falls into two buckets. Some websites that aren't transactional are a little bit more higher of a higher price point, a little bit more of research that goes into it. Again, it's not me looking at a particular water filter, understanding that model SKU number, spitting that particular model number into Google, and then transactionally just purchasing it through one touch point. It's more so, okay, I'm going to research this particular keyword and then maybe go back as more of a remarketing campaign when we're using and utilizing display. But not to say that it's a standalone display network campaign can't work for any other types of websites, but I see this making more sense, especially if it's not a necessity, it's not transactional, you're using more of discretionary spending. Those types of website work pretty good. And another thing that I like to do or see is whenever it is in that remarketing display network, just knowing that there is that middleman touch point of maybe an email sign up, a promo sign up, as opposed to it directly to a product page. Directly to a product page might work, but it's also good to provide different final URLs that might go to a particular landing page where there's a particular sign up where they get maybe 10% off, or just a separate landing page also in conjunction to also those direct product pages. Works pretty well. So yeah, Ryan, any thoughts before I move on to how to use a display campaign in 2024?
I think display campaigns are dead, in all honesty. I don't like to run them. They are just, in my opinion, are a waste of budget because they offer such low conversion rates. I think I saw a statistic the other day, 0.10% of the time display campaigns convert, which to me, when you look at search and shopping campaigns in comparison where they convert, if you get a lead generation business that's converting at 10, 15, 20, I think I've seen 30% conversion rate, the highest I saw for a lead generation business. In comparison to that, it just shows you that, a 0.10% conversion rate for display campaigns is just so poor and it's just a waste of budget. So I don't like to run them. I see them as a waste of budget. I'd much rather, and I say this, every account that I audit where I see they have a display campaign running, even if it's a remarketing one, I will say pause that campaign, push that budget into a search campaign, a shopping campaign, utilize it in a more better function, if that makes sense. So I hate to use them. I just the thing is people haven't searched. Like I'm very much about targeting people that are actively searching for products and services online. So the search results page, the shopping channel, for me, that's where you're going to get a lot more quality traffic. You're going to get a better return. And of course, you're going to get a good conversion rate. So it's money well spent to me. So honestly, I think display campaigns are dead. If you want to run display, then you could look at running, a performance max campaign or a demand gen campaign, which we'll get into. But standalone display campaigns, for me, they're just not optimal.
I agree. And there's a reason why this is the last episode in the series because it's we don't we want to be able to explain everything, but if it was up to us, we try to explain everything at a high level, especially in the beginning. And you can understand, the best practices, but there will always be preferential, a preference towards staying on Google.com. I think that is worth the money. I don't care if it's 10% less of the click. I'm looking for intent. So if you're looking for intent, remember when you stray away from just google.com, it just begins to, like Ryan says, becomes a lot of irrelevancy. And, maybe you are just, I believe, not maybe, you are better off running a performance mass campaign as your remarketing than just but I will still show you how to make the best of it. I don't know if there's anyone out there that will just run a display campaign and nothing else. But if you're out there, contact us and we'll help you. One thing you can do is make sure that when you are doing remarketing or on the display standalone campaign, that you're breaking up your ad groups. A lot of the time, you're just targeting everybody. That's not going to work. You need more specificity, especially for a campaign that has low intent when purchasing or signing up for a particular service. So make sure that you break it up between maybe repeat customers, your checkout to add to cart abandoners, and that's probably the hottest group because they've went in and either put in their particular email, their address, or even just added to cart. That in itself is an action. And then your no action, where it's basically a view or a visit. And you should definitely tier this in a way where it makes sense. Repeat customers, if you have a cyclical product, is really, really important. If you sell ink cartridges or water filters, you need to re-up every 3 months. It might behoove you to spend a little bit more for this particular ad group or campaign, and then check out the add to cart abandoners, probably the same weight. And the no action, you want to be there, but you don't want to put too much budget into that. Next is making sure you understand your product and service. This goes without saying if you're in advertising and marketing, but just understanding that is a overwhelming options between your audience segments, the demographics, the type of keywords that are put in, the topics, even the placements where you want to show up on particular websites or YouTube channels. And this is where, in my opinion, you would do better if you just did Performance Max. But we're here to talk about all the campaigns and not be biased. don't use this, but not be biased. So just make sure that you're doing all these, try to get the best shot out of a standalone display campaign. And, also I want to put a caveat in there and a little detail before Ryan gets into demand gen and smart, that if you are looking to check off that little box in your settings on a search or shopping campaign where it says also show on display network, make sure you have adequate conversion volume. Make sure you have the adequate return on ad spend, because I can tell you right now that'll probably decrease. And note when you changed it, because you're probably going to have to revert back that change just because you're moving from Google.com into something that's more of brand awareness remarketing. So there's going to be a lot of irrelevancy there. That's about it, Ryan, if you want to add on to that. But if not, you go ahead. The floor is yours.
Yeah, I've got nothing else to really say about display campaigns. I don't like to use them really. And yeah, if I ever see an account with display included, then I usually, I'm actually going through a situation right now with the client, lovely client, really, really like the business model, and the client is great. They're running some display campaigns, and I really want to pause them because I just hate them. I really don't like them, really despise them. The client is seeing somewhat of a benefit from running them, and so this is where there's like a bit of a battle between us. But ultimately, what it comes down to for me is, and I find myself in this position many times where I have to kind of let my own vanity step aside a little bit, and it's like, well, is it working? Is it driving business? And, I've said it before, Gene, you said to me, sometimes it's not about us using manual approach or doing things that we like just because, oh, I'm in charge of this, or because I say this, I don't like it. You've always said, try and step in the shoes of the business owner and what's working for them, what's producing the leads or the sales, right? And you said something to me ages ago, and I can't remember what it was, but it's within that similar kind of vein of like, don't see it as a Google Ads account manager, see yourself as a business owner, what's best for the business. So what I'm getting at is, yes, I despise display campaigns. I really don't like them. But if the client sees that they're converting really well, I'm happy to keep them, because at the end of the day, it's producing leads, sales, results. That is what we're after at the end of the day. So, and yeah, I think that's one of the only ways in which you would run display campaigns is if you have a lot of data, if it is actually working for you. In the rare occasion, then I'm going to step aside and say, okay, it's working, let's run with it. Getting into demand gen, as Gene said, there's a couple I want to go through here: demand gen and smart campaigns. But demand gen used to be called discovery campaigns, and recently Google's going through this whole name changing thing. We had extensions that became assets. We had smart shopping, which became performance max. We've had just like obviously discovery campaigns now becoming demand gen campaigns. So we're going through this whole naming convention change with Google Ads at the moment. It's like an evolution, I guess you could say. Demand gen pretty much the same as what discovery was. You're advertising on Gmail, you're advertising on YouTube, and of course you're advertising on the like discovery kind of Google channel, which I don't know many people use. Have you ever really used? I don't really know anyone who's used that, right?
No,
But
just
maybe it
PMAX.
has its place. Yeah. So the main thing is that 80% of the time, in all honesty, I don't think you're going to use the demand gen type of campaigns. And I don't think there's two sides to demand gen. One side is if you have the budget, then it can be a good campaign type to test because you want to identify where your market is. Where are they hanging out? If it's not on search, if it's not in shopping, is it on YouTube? Is it in the Gmail? Like obviously if it's B2B, if you're trying to advertise to high executive kind of business owners, CEOs, CFOs, things like that, then maybe Gmail is where they're spending the majority of their time, right? So advertising there can be quite fruitful. So if you have the budget, you could look to run a demand gen campaign just to kind of see where your market are hanging out outside of the search results page and shopping channel ecosystem. So there is that. If you don't have the budget, then I would probably stay clear from that for the time being. Focus on search, Performance Max, or standard shopping, the big three, as Gene said. And I think you should be good to go for that. And then over time, once you've got your main campaigns dialed in, that's when you can start to expand out and build out and look at, okay, we've nailed down, like, the search campaign is really working for us, or the standard shopping campaign is really working for us. Let's go and see if we can scale the brand, get more reach, more awareness by advertising on Gmail, YouTube, Discover channel, things like that. So yeah, that's what I would say. But then again, it will be, why would you run demand gen and not performance max? Okay, I think the only way you would do that is if you wanted to keep search and shopping separate from advertising on like Gmail, YouTube, and Discover. So I think in that rare occasion, if you want to say, right, I've got a search campaign that's performing really well, I have a standard shopping campaign that's performing really well. Let me test these other channels without Performance Max coming in, which is like a bull in a china shop, taking all conversions away from search campaigns and things like that, which it is known to do. It kind of steals conversions from other campaign types. There's data out there kind of showing that, and especially what I've seen is when you turn Performance Max campaigns off, in some accounts, bear in mind, all of a sudden, search campaigns, standard shopping campaigns that weren't converting, all of a sudden light up like a Christmas tree and start converting. And it's because you've turned Performance Max off. So that's the only instance where I can think, you might want to run a demand gen campaign, is to test the market, test what's not been working for you in terms of, okay, we've got search, we've got shopping. Let's test and get more of a reach and see if YouTube's going to work for us, see if Gmail is going to work for us, and Discover. So there is that to consider. Looking at my notes now, kind of covered identifying about where your market is hanging out in terms of outside of search and shopping. The main things to remember when it comes to demand gen is it's all about high quality content. So images and videos and things like that, similar to display campaigns, because, there aren't any keywords that you're bidding on. You're putting out content in the form of images and videos, right? So, and it's all about audiences. So if you can get those 2, 3 things sorted, your images, your videos, and the audience, then you should, in theory, have a really well optimized demand gen campaign. So that's what kind of demand gen campaign is in a nutshell. I'd say it's similar to meta ads, Gene. I think it's very audience based targeting, advertising images and videos, similar to like meta and more social media marketing. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you just even said it. If you're not wanting to commingle a PMax campaign with your search and shopping, do demand gen, and with PMax, that's kind of what it is, right? You're putting a lot of assets, videos, high resolution images. So, yeah, totally agree.
Cool, cool. Yeah, it has its place, I guess. But like I said, I don't think 80% of the time you're going to use them unless you're testing different channels. So there is that. The other one is another campaign type that I'm not fond of. This whole episode is basically campaign types that I don't like. And that's smart campaigns, the bane of my life. I hate smart campaigns. So smart campaigns are, how can I put it? It's what the majority of people think running Google Ads is okay, we've set up a campaign. Can you go in and audit it? Can you take a look at it? And when I get in there, I see that it's a smart campaign. So why do I dislike smart campaigns? Why are they not really preferred? Because usually it's a max clicks bidding strategy and that's all you can use. Usually it's you give Google the budget and it will go out and advertise based on what it thinks is profitable for you. But that's not always the case. I've found in my experience that smart campaigns just want to spend the daily budget. They don't really care about what your, conversion goal is or what your business goals are. They just want to spend and churn the budget away. So they just want to spend, spend, spend. Which is why you're on a low quality bidding strategy such as maximize clicks, because the way that Google uses maximize clicks is it bids on cheaper traffic that is a bit more informational based, a bit more top level, or top of funnel, so to speak, because it's cheaper to bid on. It's broad match, so it's cheaper. It's not phrase and exact where the quality is. It's quantity. Again, maximizing the number of clicks you can get for your daily budget. And the way that it does that is by bidding on cheap quality, like low quality traffic. So I really dislike smart campaigns. It's probably the worst campaign type to run. And like I said, it's very easy to set up. So for a business owner who doesn't really know about search campaigns, shopping campaigns, or even performance max campaigns, it's easy to go in and set up a smart campaign. I think, in fact, if you create a Google Ads account, there's two ways you can view that account, the platform. There's a smart campaign way where it gives you a very sort of like hand-holding experience about how to create a campaign, which eventually becomes a smart campaign. Or there's the expert mode, as it calls, what Gene and me kind of look at, which is where you kind of have all the different campaign types, all the data. Whereas the dumbed down version, I'm using a lot of bunny ear air quotes today, but the dumbed down version is okay, create a campaign, and this is the campaign you've got. We're not going to suggest anything else. It's going to be a smart campaign. So when business owners think, okay, I'm creating a Google Ads account, great, I've got a Google Ads campaign running. Most of the time, it's because it's a smart campaign and they don't have the knowledge of search, standard shopping, performance max, because they don't see those campaign types. But little to no control. Again, you give Google the smart campaign, the budget, it'll go out and optimize in itself. You can't really, you can add keywords, you can add negative keywords. So there's some quality cleanup there that you can do. But again, you might as well not even bother adding negatives because it's just poorly optimized. So yeah, I think it's just a terrible campaign type. And this is what interests me is that I'm really keen on this channel, on the PPC Cave, is I really want to test, like do certain challenges, because I don't really see many other channels do this. I'd really like to do a challenge where we set up a smart campaign and we pose the question, can smart campaigns actually be profitable and successful? And then we just give it a decent budget, let it run for 90 days, and then evaluate the data and say, okay, has it been profitable? Has it not? And do something like that. I think that'd be a really interesting kind of test to make. But yeah, I'd say my advice for smart campaigns, stay clear of them, don't run them. And I think if you're going to run a more automated campaign type, look to use Performance Max, because then at least then you're going to get a little bit more value from that. It's still little to no optimization required with Performance Max, but because it includes search, shopping, YouTube, Gmail, display, remarketing, you've got all these different platforms, YouTube as well, included in Performance Max. There's a lot more value to be had than in Performance Max than running a smart campaign. So yeah, Gene, any thoughts on smart campaigns? Have you ran into them? Have you run them? What's your thoughts?
I've never ran a smart campaign. I feel like if you're a Google Ads manager running a smart campaign, then you have a problem. I think this is only for people that aren't tech savvy or that
Mm,
maybe they don't even I don't think this is for anyone that really understands the benefits of running Google Ads the way in expert mode. Yeah, I've seen them in audits and particular accounts, but like Ryan said, there's so little information that first you could utilize, like insights and even just the levers and ratchets that you could pull and push. You're very handicapped and limited. So no go for smart campaign for sure.
So is that all of the, excuse me, is that all of the campaign types that we've covered?
Yeah.
So what have we covered? We've covered search. We did a really good standard shopping and performance max videos on the channel. We've talked about display. We've talked about app, smart demand gen. We talked about YouTube. I think that's pretty much it, right? As far
Did you
as I'm
say P
aware.
Max? Yeah, P
I said
Max.
performance max. I'm pretty
Yeah,
sure.
I think we're at
I'm
8, right?
thinking, yeah, we used to have. I mean, maybe correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm just looking here because we used to have like local campaigns and hotel and things like that. But I think that's gone now, right? Like local
Yeah.
foot traffic campaigns. So those are the days. I'm getting
Yeah,
old.
I think we've did it. I think,
Yeah.
we've gone through and, as our very best, did our very best on explaining exactly which campaign types you should run and how they factor in with your particular product or service and just overall high level best practices on, in 2024 how to utilize it. Ryan, anything else on that? We think we did a pretty good job, man, going through all of them. What do you think?
I think, yeah, we definitely did, pat ourselves on the back, self-promotion and all that kind of stuff, right? But it's very difficult because, with the channel being so young, we're going through a lot of the theory. So a lot of people may be getting a little bit, if you know a lot of this, it can be like sucking on eggs or something like that, very slow content. But a lot of people, even now, are just breaking into Google Ads, and there's going to be new account is what campaign types you should run. This is how, Google Ads works. And we're really trying to get down the basic fundamentals first before we get into the nitty-gritty, which I think is going to be over the coming series, which is where it's okay, how to run a campaign, how to optimize a campaign. What is the data that Gene and I look at on a regular basis? How to optimize like product titles in Google Merchant Center, how to, look different target return on ad spend and, bidding strategies. We're going to really get into the nitty gritty, but first you have to build that foundation. You have to kind of have that as a set model. I mean, you can't just go ahead and like build a house, right? You have to build the interior, the structure, the foundations have to be built first. And I think that's what these last couple, maybe three series have been about is, getting that fundamentals down so that we can build upon that. I think that's fair to say, right?
Yeah, I think that's fair to say. And I want to encourage all 47 subscribers, and I'm not sure how many subscribers we have on Spotify, but stay tuned. The best is just yet to come. It's not what we have right now is very high level, as Ryan said. We're building the foundation. Google Ads is important for us to understand the foundation, but to move the needle, you have to get deep into the particular interactions of your ad and searcher, different metrics and insights, and how these multiple insights and metrics and columns on the report, what that means, what that could signal. The nuances and the details is what's coming up. So if you enjoyed this, and I'm sure all 47 of y'all have, I think the type of content that's going to be brought in with the amount of clients that me and Ryan have and experience that me and Ryan have, it's going to be invaluable. So I know we've been saying no self promotion, but we have to, you know, somehow, let people know that the best is yet to come. Any last words, Ryan, before we close it out?
No, I think we covered all the other campaign types, that are available in Google Ads. We dedicated two or three, four episodes purely to the main ones: search, standard shopping, performance max, videos. So I think we've really kind of, rounded it up quite nicely. And next week we're going to be talking about the recap episode of, which campaign type should I run in 2024. So that'll be a recap in terms of all the last episodes of this series. We're going to touch on search, we're going to touch on, standard shopping, performance max, video, and all the ones we've just discussed. So, if you're lazy like me and you don't want to watch all of the individual episodes, the recap episodes are really crucial because you get everything in a more succinct 30 to 45-minute kind of video, where we just kind of go over the last series. So I'm looking forward to recording that. And then I'm not sure what's happening after that. I think, are we doing a bit more, like we say, nitty gritty, a bit more hands on? But
Yeah, I
we'll get
think
there. We'll get there.
yeah, we'll
Any thoughts
definitely.
from you in terms of the series, Gene?
No, I think it's crucial. I think we tried to provide value specifically in little spots that we could, but it's not the full episode of doing that. And I know people want to get the nitty gritty and get those full detailed episodes, and that is definitely coming up.
Cool. Thank you very much. So where can people find you if they want to work with you?
Yeah, so anyone that wants to work with me, especially those apps and mobile game companies, genevillanos.com. Just kidding. Genevillanos.com, Gene Villanos on TikTok, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, or X. What about you, Ryan?
I hadn't even thought, before when you mentioned Silicon Valley, I was like, oh, yeah, I didn't even think about those guys. Like they're the ones with angel investors with the big dollars. So like maybe I should be like, yeah, I'm the best at apps and game campaign types, right? Just to get a bit of that. No, I'm joking.
Learn
um,
on the
people
fly.
people can find me at ryanfentonppc.co.uk. Also on Twitter or x.com at ryanfentonppc. Yeah, reach out obviously at the PPC Cave as well.
Yep, the PPC Cave at gmail.com. Any questions there? Again, we release every Monday at 12 a.m. Mountain Time on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube also. And Ryan does our shorts and IG Reels on TikTok. Hopefully, here it doesn't leave in the US, but we'll continue to provide value where we can see fit. And if there's nothing else, we'll talk to everybody next time. Bye.